girl in the pod, the ship drifted in silence, lost in the dark void of space. It was a wreck, a giant, twisted mass of metal and broken technology. For weeks, Commander Jace had been on the hunt for valuable tech, anything that could be salvaged, from the forgotten alien ships scattered in the galaxy. His team had found many abandoned ships like this one before, but this one was different. This ship was alive. Jace and his team stepped carefully through the wreckage. They wore their spacesuits tightly, each step echoing in the abandoned halls of the alien vessel. The walls were slick with strange symbols, some of them glowing faintly. The air smelled like dust and old metal, but something else lingered. A faint scent Jace couldn't place, like something ancient, forgotten. They made their way deeper into the heart of the ship, their lights shining on the strange machines that lined the walls. Most of them were broken, rusted shut, but then they came upon a door. It was sealed tight, but Jace felt a strange tug in his chest. Something told him to open it. He gave the signal, and one of his team members moved to break the seal. The door hissed open slowly, revealing a room that looked almost sacred. It was a small chamber with soft, pale light flickering from the ceiling. In the center of the room lay a pod, smooth and metallic, unlike anything Jace had ever seen. It shimmered in the light, its surface reflecting the team's movements like a mirror. But it wasn't just any pod. There was something inside. Jace's heart skipped a beat when the pod opened with a soft hiss. Inside, lying curled in a ball, was an alien girl. She was young, no older than 20, with pale blue skin that seemed to shimmer under the dim lights. Her hair was long and white, and her eyes were shut tight as if she were in a deep sleep. But it wasn't her appearance that caught Jace off guard. It was the armor wrapped tightly around her body. The armor wasn't just any protective suit. It was alive. Jace reached out, his fingers just inches from her. The armor seemed to respond to his presence, shifting slightly, as if warning him away. He hesitated, then looked back at his team. Careful. This isn't like anything we've seen before. One of the team members, Sergeant Harris, stepped forward, his voice steady. Is she alive? Jace reached out slowly, placing a hand on the girl's shoulder. As soon as his fingers touched the armor, it moved. It wasn't like regular armor, it was alive. The black material twisted and slid, pressing tightly against her body, as though it was protecting her from everything around her. The girl stirred. Her eyes opened, revealing dark, deep pools of fear. She looked at Jace for a moment, and then her mouth opened in a silent scream. Her hands shot up, clutching the armor tightly. It was almost as if she was trying to break free. She sighed, his voice low and calm. We're here to help. But the armor seemed to respond to his words. The girl's body jerked, and the suit tightened around her chest. She gasped for air, her face contorting in pain. Jace backed away quickly. He turned to his team. Get back. This suit is alive, and it's trying to protect her. Sergeant Harris spoke up, his voice full of concern. What is this thing? Why is it alive? Jace shook his head. I don't know, but whatever it is, it's connected to her. We need to figure out what's going on. The girl's breathing grew heavier, her chest rising and falling rapidly. Her eyes darted between Jace and the rest of the team. She was clearly scared, struggling against the living armor that seemed to have fused with her. I can't breathe, she gasped, her voice barely audible. Please help me. Jace's heart sank. He could see the terror in her eyes. This wasn't just a simple alien with a suit. It was a girl trapped inside something she couldn't control. We need to get her out of here, Jace said, turning toward his team. Harris, get the emergency med kit. We'll sedate her and get her back to the ship. But as Jace turned to move, the girl's hand shot out, gripping his wrist with surprising strength. Don't, she whispered, her voice trembling. "You can't. Take it off." Jace stared down at her hand, and back at the armor. The suit had tightened even further, as if warning them to stay away. "Take it off?" Jace echoed, confusion. In his voice, "What do you mean?" "We're not taking anything off. We're getting you help." She shook her head weakly, her face pale and strained. "You can't take it off," she repeated, her voice breaking. "It won't let you ... It ... won't." Before Jace could say anything more, the room around them began to hum a low, deep sound that seemed to come from everywhere at once. The walls flickered, and the air grew heavy, thick with tension. Something was wrong, very wrong. "Take it off." Jace's heart raced as the strange hum echoed through the room, vibrating through the walls like a warning. The girl's hand gripped, his wrist with a strength that seemed impossible for someone so fragile. Her eyes were wide with panic, and her breathing was shallow. "I can't breathe," she gasped, struggling to take in air. The black armor tightened around her chest again, squeezing like a vice. "Please ... help me ... Jace quickly glanced at his team. Harris was already at the medkit, his fingers fumbling over the controls as he tried to activate the sedative injector. But the moment he stepped closer to the girl, the suit reacted, tensing like a snake ready to strike. "Get back!" Jace shouted. He pulled his wrist free from her grip, taking a few steps back. The armor won't let anyone near her. The girl's body spasmed, and her mouth opened in a silent scream. Jace could feel her pain as if it were his own. This wasn't just an alien suit, it was part of her. The more he looked at it, the more it seemed like it had a mind of its own. "Take it off." The words escaped from his lips before he could stop them. The frustration, the helplessness, it all spilled out in that simple command. But as soon as the words left his mouth, something changed. The girl's eyes widened even more, and as armor responded, it began to shift, moving like liquid over her body, the black material flowing and tightening around her. It seemed to pulse with life, almost as though it had heard Jace's command and was reacting to it. The girl's chest rose and fell rapidly as she gasped for air. "No," she cried weakly, her voice barely audible. "You don't understand. It won't come off. It won't let me go." Jace's mind raced. How could he help her? How could they remove this living armor without hurting her? "Why won't it come off?" he asked, trying to keep his voice steady as he stepped closer again. He ignored the growing tension in the air. His focus was entirely on the girl, on her terrified eyes, and the way the suit held her in place. She shook her head slowly. "It's not just armor. It's my life," she whispered. Her voice cracked with each word. "The armor is part of me. I can't separate from it. It ... it keeps me alive. It's the only thing that's kept me alive." Jace stood there, stunned as he tried to comprehend what she was saying. This wasn't just a tool, a piece of technology. It was a bond, a living, breathing force that kept her alive. And now it was killing her. The hum grew louder, vibrating through the walls, as if the ship itself were reacting to their words. The girl's eyes fluttered closed, and she slumped forward slightly, her body going limp for a moment before the armor squeezed her tighter. Jace had to act. He couldn't just stand there and let her suffer. "Don't worry," he said, trying to keep his voice calm, though he felt anything but calm. "We'll find a way to help you." The girl opened her eyes, weakly looking up at him. "You don't understand. The armor is my punishment, my curse. It's a weapon, Jace. It's meant to protect, but it's also meant to control. And if you try to take it off, it will destroy me. It will destroy all of us." Her words hit Jace like a slap in the face. This wasn't just a matter of technology or war. It was something far deeper, something more dangerous. Then what do we do? Jace asked, desperation creeping into his voice. He couldn't lose her, not like this. How do we fix this? She closed her eyes, and for a moment, it seemed like she was lost in thought. The armor around her body seemed to soften slightly, as if it too was listening. But the moment passed quickly. She gasped, pain flashing across her face. I don't know, she whispered. I don't know how to control it. It's too strong. Too alive. Jace stared at her for a long moment, the gears in his mind turning. He had to do something. If he didn't, the girl would die. And the suit? The suit would kill everyone on this ship. Just as Jace was about to speak again, the room was filled with a loud crackling sound. The lights flickered. Something was coming, something bigger than them, more dangerous. The suit around the girl tensed again, the black armor shifting in unnatural ways. It felt alive, pulsing, hungry. Jace, the girl whispered, her voice full of dread. They're coming, the others. The ones who created this armor, they'll be here soon. And when they come, they'll take everything, and they'll take me too. A chill ran down Jace's spine as he looked at her, realizing the full weight of her words. They were in more danger than he had imagined. The galaxy didn't just want this armor, it wanted her. The living prison. Jace's mind raced as he stood frozen, listening to the girl's words. She was trapped not just by the armor, but by something far darker. Whoever had made that suit, whoever controlled it, had given her no choice. It wasn't just a piece of armor. It was her life, her prison, and her curse all at once. The hum of the ship grew louder again, shaking the walls and vibrating through the air. Jace could feel the pressure building, like a storm waiting to burst. The girl's breathing had slowed, but the tightness of the armor around her chest was suffocating her more with every passing second. We need to move her now, Harris said, his voice tight with urgency. If we don't act fast, I know. Jace snapped, holding up his hand to stop Harris. He turned back to the girl, who now looked pale and exhausted, her head tilting back slightly, her eyes glassy. Please, Don single quotes T double quotes, she whispered, her voice barely above a breath. If you move me, the armor will take control again. You don't understand. It's not just a suit. It's alive. Jace's mind whirled. The idea of living armor, a suit with its own mind, was almost too much to comprehend. But there was no time for disbelief. The hum of the ship was getting louder, and he knew they were running out of time. He had to help her. We can't just leave you like this, Jace said, his voice firm. We need to get you out of here. We'll figure out how to stop the suit. I promise. The girl shook her head weakly, her hands trembling as she clutched the armor tightly. You can't stop it. It's part of me now. Jace crouched beside her, trying to stay calm. Then let me help you control it. There has to be a way to communicate with it. We can figure this out together. Her eyes flickered with fear and exhaustion. She wanted to trust him. He could see it in her eyes. But the suit was too powerful. It was holding her, controlling her every movement. I can't, she whispered, her voice trembling. I've tried so many times. The suit is in me. It's not just an armor. It's a living prison. Jace felt his stomach tighten. A living prison? Was she saying that the armor was some kind of sentient being, an ancient weapon that had bonded to her? Or was it more than that? Could it be a parasite, slowly eating away at her? We need to move, Harris insisted, his voice tight. We don't have time to talk. We need to get her to the ship before Jace could respond, the door to the room slammed open with a loud bang. A wave of pressure flooded the room as the door buckled under the force. Jace spun around, heart racing. Something was coming. Something much worse than they had expected. The girl's eyes went wide with fear, and the armor around her body contracted again. The black suit seemed to grow even darker, more solid, as if preparing for a fight. It reacted to the danger, protecting her as best it could. But it wasn't just protecting her. The door crashed open completely, and a group of alien soldiers stormed into the room. They wore heavy, armored suits, their faces hidden behind helmets. Their weapons were drawn, their eyes locked on the girl. "Stand back," one of the soldiers barked, his voice cold and commanding. "The armor is ours." Jace immediately stepped in front of the girl, his hands raised in a defensive gesture. "No," he said firmly. "You're not taking her. She's not a weapon. She's a person." The soldier's eyes narrowed. "She's a weapon. That suit was designed to be a weapon, and it's coming with us." Jace's heart pounded in his chest as the soldiers began to advance, their weapons raised. He had no idea who they were, or what they wanted with the girl, but one thing was clear. They weren't here to help. "No!" The girl screamed suddenly, her voice raw and filled with terror. "You can't take it off. It will kill me." The soldiers didn't flinch. One of them raised his weapon, aiming it at Jace. "Move aside. Now." The girl's body tensed again, and the armor around her seemed to pulse with anger. It was alive, and it was furious. The black material shifted and began to writhe, its shape changing as if it had a mind of its own. The air in the room became thick with the smell of ozone, and the temperature dropped. Jace took a deep breath, trying to steady himself. He had no choice now. They couldn't allow the soldiers to take the girl. She was their responsibility, and he wasn't about to let anyone hurt her. With a sudden movement, Jace lunged forward, knocking the soldier's weapon out of his hand. "Get away from her." The alien soldiers stumbled back, surprised by the force of his attack. The girl screamed again, and the armor responded. It shot out like tendrils, grabbing hold of the soldiers and throwing them across the room. The suit was no longer just protecting her, it was protecting them all. Jace's eyes widened as he watched the girl struggle to stand, the black armor now pulsing with an energy he couldn't explain. She was no longer just a victim. She was a force to be reckoned with. "I can't control it," she cried, her voice breaking. "It's too strong. It will destroy everything." But it was already too late. The armor had taken control, and it wasn't letting go. Her memories aren't hers. The ship shook violently as the alien soldiers scrambled to get back on their feet. But the armor wasn't letting them. The black tendrils of the living suit stretched across the room like an angry serpent, binding them, tossing them aside with terrifying ease. The girl, her face pale with exhaustion, struggled against the overwhelming force of the armor. She couldn't control it not anymore. Jace stood frozen, watching the girl's struggle. His heart pounded in his chest. She had been a prisoner of the armor, but now it seemed she was losing the fight. The suit was alive, but so was she. The connection between them was far more complicated than Jace could have imagined. "Please," the girl gasped, her voice strained. "I can't stop it. It's too strong." Jace took a step forward, but the armor recoiled, sensing his approach. The air in the room grew heavy with a strange energy. It was as if the entire ship was holding its breath, waiting for the next move. The girl's eyes fluttered, a tear escaping from the corner of her eye as she looked at Jace. "You need to understand," she whispered, barely able to speak. "This armor, it's not just protecting me. It's controlling me." Jace's chest tightened. He could see the pain in her eyes. The armor wasn't just a tool, it was a cage. And it had been holding her captive for so long that she couldn't remember a time without it. "What do you mean?" Jace asked, his voice soft, his eyes filled with concern. "What's controlling?" "You?" The girl's eyes clouded for a moment, and then she spoke again, her voice trembling. It's more than just armor. It single quotes memories. Jace frowned. Memories? She nodded slowly, her breath shallow. The suit? It doesn't just protect me. It holds the memories of every person it's ever bonded with. Every battle, every death. It keeps their minds, their emotions, their memories. Jace's mind raced as he tried to understand. So the armor is alive because of the memories it carries? The girl nodded again. Yes, it's not just a piece of technology. It's a living, breathing thing. But every time it bonds with someone, it takes part of them with it. And now it's taking me. The room fell silent as Jace tried to process her words. The suit wasn't just a weapon. It was a collection of souls, a collection of memories from those it had consumed. And now those memories were flooding her mind, overwhelming her. She was losing herself. The girl's eyes began to cloud again, as though she was seeing something beyond the room, beyond the ship. Her hand twitched, and she gripped the sides of her head in pain. No ... not again ... She whispered. JAC took another step forward, but the armor flared in warning, its black tendrils snapping at the air, blocking his path. He had no idea what was happening to her, but he knew they didn't have much time. The armor was too powerful. Now, and the girl was fighting a battle she couldn't win. Let me help you, Jace said urgently, his voice barely above a whisper. We'll figure this out. We'll stop it together. But the girl shook her head, her breath coming in quick, panicked gasps. You don't understand. You can't help me. The memories. They're too strong. They won't stop. Suddenly, her body jerked, as if something had seized control of her. Her eyes went blank, and her mouth opened in a silent scream. The suit tightened around her chest, as if trying to crush her from the inside out. Jace's heart raced. He couldn't let this happen. He couldn't lose her. The armor was feeding on her, consuming her very soul. And she couldn't fight back. Then something strange happened. The girl's voice, soft and distant, echoed in Jace's mind. It was faint at first, like a whisper carried on the wind. Help me. JACE ... please ... It wasn't the girl's voice. It was someone else's someone trapped within the armor. The memories of someone long gone. Their voice crying out for release. JAC. He stepped forward again, his mind filled with a sense of urgency. I won't leave you. I'm not going to let this armor take you. Just hold on. The girl's eyes flickered, back into focus for a brief moment. Her lips moved, and she whispered, They're here. They're coming for me. They won't stop. Suddenly, the lights in the room flickered, and the ship groaned as if something were moving inside it. The hum of the engines grew louder, vibrating through the walls. The air grew thick with tension, as if the ship itself was alive, sensing the danger approaching. Jace glanced at his team. Harris had already moved to the control panel, trying to get the ship's systems back online. But it was no use. The ship was far too damaged to help now. They were trapped. The girl's breathing became ragged, and the armor reacted once again, tightening and shifting as if responding to some unseen force. They're here, she whispered, her voice breaking. The ones who made me. The ones who made the armor. They'll take me back. Jace's chest tightened with fear. Who were these people? And why did they want her so badly? Suddenly, the walls of the room vibrated violently. The ship was under attack. The girl's armor flared up one last time, as if it knew what was coming. And then, everything went dark. The suit strikes back. Ship shuddered violently as the lights flickered, and the hum of the engines grew louder, vibrating through the walls. The girl's body tensed, her eyes widening in fear, as the room seemed to close in around them. The air grew thick with energy, and the black armor around her started to shift, almost as if it was reacting to the growing danger. Chase could feel it too, the moment of calm before the storm. The entire ship seemed to be holding its breath, waiting for something. And he had no idea what was coming. Then, with a sharp metallic screech, the hull of the ship shook as something massive collided with it. The walls groaned under the pressure, and the lights went out completely, leaving them in near darkness. The emergency lights flickered on, casting everything in a dim red glow. "What's happening?" Harris shouted, his voice filled with panic. "What's out there?" Jace didn't answer. His eyes were locked on the girl, who was now shaking uncontrollably. The armor around her began to pulse with an eerie, otherworldly light, its dark surface shimmering as it seemed to tighten around her. She gasped for air, her chest rising and falling rapidly. "They're here," she whispered, barely able to speak. "The ones who made the armor, they're here to take me back." Jace's heart pounded in his chest. Who were they? And what did they want with her? The girl had been exiled, but now it seemed like her past was catching up with her. The armor was responding, shifting, tightening, and growing stronger with every passing second. He stepped closer, his mind racing. "We need to move, now." Before he could do anything, the air was filled with a loud crackling sound, followed by a series of metallic clangs. The door to the room slammed open with a violent force, and a group of heavily armed soldiers poured in, their weapons raised. "Move." "Aside," one of the soldiers barked, his voice cold and commanding. "The girl belongs to us." Jace didn't hesitate. He stepped forward, blocking their path. "No," he said, his voice steady. "She's not going anywhere with you." The soldiers didn't even flinch. They just raised their weapons, aiming them directly at Jace. "You're making a mistake." The lead soldier warned. "This girl is not just a person. She's a weapon. And that suit," he pointed at the girl, "is the key to unlocking its power." The girl's eyes flickered, and for a moment, Jace saw a flicker of recognition in her gaze. She knew these people. She knew who they were, and the fear in her eyes told him everything he needed to know. They were the ones who had created the living armor. They were the ones who had trapped her. "No," the girl whispered, her voice shaking. "Please, ... Don't let them take me. You don't know what they'll do." The suit around her suddenly pulsed with energy, a bright, angry glow that filled the room. The soldiers took a step back, clearly surprised by the reaction. But it wasn't just surprise, it was fear. Jace could feel the tension in the air. The girl wasn't just a victim anymore. The armor had become more than just a suit. It was a force of nature, a living, breathing weapon. And it wasn't just protecting her anymore, it was ready to fight. Before anyone could react, the armor surged. It lashed out like a living creature, tendrils of black material shooting toward the soldiers. One of them screamed as he was thrown back into the wall, his body slamming against it with bone-crushing force. Another soldier barely had time to raise his weapon before the armor wrapped around him, twisting and crushing him with terrifying strength. Jace ducked, barely avoiding the wave of energy as the armor flared up, throwing the soldiers around the room like ragdolls. The girl screamed, her voice breaking through the chaos. But she wasn't fighting the armor anymore. It was fighting for her. And it was angry. The last soldier tried to make a break for the door, but before he could get halfway, the armor grabbed him, lifting him off the ground and slamming him into the ceiling. The sound of cracking bones echoed through the room as the soldier's body crumpled to the floor, lifeless. Jace stood frozen, his eyes wide with disbelief. He had seen violence before, but this was something else. The armor was not just a weapon, it was a beast, a creature with a mind of its own, and it was ready to destroy anything in its path. The girl's face was twisted in pain as she clutched her head, the suit tightening once again around her. "Stop!" she cried out, her voice hoarse. "Please, stop it." But the armor didn't stop. It continued to thrash around, its tendrils lashing out in all directions, tearing apart the room and everything in its path. Jace had no idea how to control it, how to stop it. The girl was no longer in control. The suit had taken over, and it was only getting worse. "Please," Jace said, his voice desperate. "I need you to fight it. You can stop this." But she couldn't answer. She was trapped inside, overwhelmed by the power of the armor. It was feeding on her fear, on her pain. And the more it fed, the more dangerous it became. With a final violent burst of energy, the armor finally stopped. The room was silent, save for the sound of heavy breathing. Jace looked around, taking in the damage. The soldiers were gone either, dead or unconscious. The room was destroyed. And the girl, she was on the floor, trembling, her body covered in the dark suit. Jace knelt beside her, his heart racing. "Are you okay?" he asked, his voice trembling. The girl didn't respond. Her eyes were wide and filled with terror, but it wasn't fear of the soldiers. It was fear of what the armor had become. She had lost control, and now she wasn't sure how to get it back. "I'm sorry," she whispered, her voice breaking. "I'm sorry, I don't know what it's doing anymore." Fire in the dark, the chaos from the battle, still echoed through the dark halls of the ship. The lights flickered on and off, casting shadows that danced on the walls as the hum of the vol. Ship's engines grew louder. The girl lay motionless on the cold metal floor, her body shivering from the shock. The armor had finally stopped thrashing, but it had left her vulnerable. She was no longer just a victim of the suit. It had consumed her completely. Jace knelt beside her, his heart pounding in his chest. "Hey, hey, can you hear me?" he said, gently reaching for her arm. The armor was still wrapped tightly around her, but it seemed to have lost its anger, its fight. It was as though it too was waiting for something. She didn't respond. Her eyes unfocused. Her lips were pale, and her breathing was shallow. Jace knew she was slipping, her mind tangled in the memories of the past, the trauma of the suit's control. He shook her lightly, trying to rouse her. "Come on, we need to get out of here. They'll be back any minute." The girl's eyes fluttered, but she still couldn't speak. Her hand trembled as it reached up, touching the black armor that had taken over her body. It looked almost like it was comforting her. Jace's heart broke. He didn't know if she was ever going to be free of this thing that had become part of her. "We have to go now," Jace said firmly, his voice low but filled with urgency. He wasn't about to let the girl die, not when there was still a chance to save her. Suddenly the ship shook again, this time with more force. The walls groaned as the ship lurched forward, and the entire room vibrated under the pressure. The sound of engines whirring and something heavy slamming against the hull made Jace's blood run cold. They weren't alone. The attackers were closing in. "They're here," the girl whispered, her voice weak. "They've come for me." Jace's eyes widened. The alien soldiers hadn't been the only ones searching for her. He had a sickening feeling that whoever else was out there now was far worse. The ship shook again, even harder this time, throwing Jace to the ground. He scrambled to his feet, glancing at the girl. Her armor responded once again, wrapping around her tightly as if sensing the growing danger. "Stay with me," Jace whispered, reaching for her. "We can do this together. We just have to move." The girl's eyes were now filled with something more than fear. There was a glimmer of resolve. She wasn't the helpless victim anymore. She had fought against the suit before, and maybe, just maybe, she could do it again. "I can't leave, she murmured, her hand tightening around his. "They'll kill you. They'll kill us all if I try to run. The armor is their creation. They'll hunt me down, and anyone who tries to help me." Jace stood tall, determination flooding through him. "They won't kill anyone," he said firmly. "Not while I'm still breathing. Now let's get you to safety. If we don't act fast, we'll all be dead." The girl's gaze softened, but the fear never fully left her eyes. She nodded weakly. "Okay, okay, let's go." With a sudden burst of strength, Jace helped her to her feet. The armor shifted and moved, seeming to ease its grip on her, almost as though it was allowing her to move. But Jace knew it wasn't that simple. The suit would never fully let her go. Together, they moved down the dark corridors of the ship, the emergency lights casting long shadows that stretched across the walls. Jace kept a hand on her shoulder, guiding her through the maze of twisting passageways. The ship felt alive, the low hum of its engines vibrating through the walls, making everything feel unstable, uncertain. But then the ship shook again. This time, it wasn't from the outside. It was the ship itself, responding to something else, something much worse than the alien soldiers. The hull groaned, and the lights flickered once more, casting an eerie red glow across the room. "They're not just looking for us," the girl said, her voice strained. "They're after something bigger, something more dangerous." Jace froze. "What do you mean?" "They're after the power in the suit," she whispered. "The armor ... it's a weapon. It's not just a suit of armor. It's a key to something far worse. Something they could use to destroy entire planets." The girl's words hit Jace like a punch to the gut. He knew the galaxy had always been dangerous, but this was on another level. "We can't let them take it," Jace said, his voice barely a whisper. "We can't let them use you or the suit to destroy everything." The girl looked at him, fear and regret filling her eyes. "I don't have a choice. The armor ... it's part of me. If they get it, they'll have the power to control everything." Jace's mind raced as he realized the gravity of the situation. If they didn't stop whoever was after them, the galaxy itself could be in danger. They had no choice but to fight back. "We'll stop them," Jace said, his voice steady. "We'll stop them together." But just as he said it, the ship shook. Again, this time with such force that the walls seemed to tremble. The lights flickered out completely, leaving them in total darkness. Suddenly, they heard a voice, cold and mechanical, echoing through the dark. "You can't run. We've already found you." Jace's heart stopped. The enemy was here, and they weren't leaving without what they came for. She wore it by choice. The room was dark, the red emergency lights casting long shadows across the walls. The ship groaned around them as it lurched forward, and the low hum of its engines filled the air. The sound of their footsteps echoed down the long, empty hallways, but the sense of urgency in Jace's heart was louder than anything else. He had to get her out. They had to escape before it was too late. Jace glanced at the girl beside him. She had her head down, her fingers lightly brushing against the black armor that still clung to her body. It seemed quieter now, less violent, but still alive, still waiting, still controlling. She was breathing steadily now, but there was still a sadness in her eyes, a heaviness that didn't belong to the girl he had first met. She wasn't the same person anymore. The armor had taken parts of her, parts she wasn't sure she could ever get back. "You're not alone anymore," Jace said, his voice calm but firm. He wasn't sure if he believed it yet, but he had to. He had to believe it for her. "We'll make it through this." She nodded, but didn't answer. The weight of her silence spoke volumes. The girl had been carrying the suit, the memories, the guilt for so long that she no longer knew who she was without it. The ship's alarms began to blare. A sharp, piercing sound that sent a shiver down Jace's spine. The walls trembled, and the doors ahead of him slammed open with a metallic screech. The enemy was close. Too close. They're here, she whispered, her eyes clouded with fear. They've found us. Jace didn't hesitate. He grabbed her hand and pulled her toward the nearest escape hatch. We don't have much time. Stay with me. The girl's body stiffened as the black suit reacted, its tendrils extending slightly, sensing the danger. But this time, it was different. She didn't fight it. Instead, she let it bond with her more deeply. It wasn't just a suit anymore. It was part of her protector, her curse. And she had made peace with it. For the first time, she wasn't trying to escape it. She was accepting it. The escape hatch door opened with a hiss, and Jace shoved the girl inside first. He followed quickly, sealing the door behind them. They were in a small, dimly lit corridor now, the emergency lights flickering as they ran. The sound of footsteps grew louder as they approached the docking bay. The soldiers were close. But they wouldn't stop Jace. Not now. He glanced at the girl beside him. Her face was set, her expression determined, despite the fear that still flickered in her eyes. The suit was no longer controlling her. It was becoming something else. She had taken back control. Are you ready? Jace asked, his voice barely a whisper. The girl nodded slowly. I'm ready. And for the first time, she believed it. Reached the docking bay, where their ship waited, its engines roaring, ready for launch. But standing in their path was a wall of soldiers, their weapons drawn, their eyes locked on the girl. The leader of the soldiers stepped forward, his voice cold and mechanical. You can't run from this, he said. The suit belongs to you. You belong to us. Jace stood tall, his feet planted firmly on the ground. He wasn't backing down. You don't get to decide who she is, he said, his voice full of defiance. The girl stepped forward, her hands trembling as she reached out to touch the black armor that now covered her body. The suit responded instantly, shifting and expanding, its dark tendrils coiling like a living creature. It wasn't just armor anymore. It was a weapon, a shield, and a piece of her soul. And now she was in control. You can't have it, the girl said, her voice steady, her gaze unwavering. I won't let you take it from me. The soldiers hesitated, clearly taken aback by the power she now commanded. The girl wasn't the helpless prisoner they had once captured. She was a force to be reckoned with. The armor was hers to control, and with it, she was unstoppable. The leader of the soldiers sneered. You think you can stop us? You think you can control that thing? The girl's lips curled into a faint smile. You don't understand, she said softly. This isn't just a suit. It's my choice. And I choose to keep it. Before the soldiers could react, the black armor flared up, its tendrils shooting out like lightning. The room erupted into chaos. The soldiers tried to fight back, but they were no match for the living suit that now obeyed only the girl's command. Jace watched, awestruck, as the girl fought not out of fear, but out of strength. The armor responded to her every thought, every command. It wasn't controlling her anymore. She was controlling it. With a final powerful surge, the soldiers were knocked back, their weapons scattered across the floor. The girl stood tall, her chest rising and falling with the effort, but there was no fear in her eyes now. She had done it. She had taken back control of the suit. Jace walked up to her slowly, a smile crossing his face. You did it. The girl turned to him, her expression softening. We did it, she corrected him. This is who I am now, and I'm not running from it anymore. With a final glance at the defeated soldiers, the girl stepped forward, her armor glistening in the dim light. Jace followed her, his hand resting lightly on her shoulder. Together, they walked toward the ship, ready to face whatever the galaxy had in store for them. The girl had finally found her strength, not in the suit, but in herself. And from that moment on, she wore it by choice.